What?
What's your name?
Oh, yeah, that's me.
It is you. So you're out of prison.
Yes.
And you're comfortably shopping in Cub Foods. As if you didn't do anything.
I wouldn't call it comfortably. I'd just say getting necessities or helping.
I don't think you should have that right. I don't even think you should be out on bail.
I can understand.
I mean, how does it feel?
I'm sorry you feel that way.
No, you're not sorry. Like, you're literally outside here comfortably as if you didn't kill that man. Did you think that people weren't going to recognize you? Honestly, did you? You don't have the right to be here. You killed somebody in cold blood. You do not have the right to be
I
here.
understand. I'll get my stuff paid for.
No, we don't want you to get your stuff. We want you to be locked up. You're honestly in Cub Foods comfortably shopping. Out of prison. Like, do you feel any remorse for what you did? Do you?
Ma'am, I'm just going to grab my stuff.
This is the officer who was let out of jail today for shooting George Floyd. Or, I'm sorry, suffocating him. You're not going to be able to comfortably go around Minnesota like this. I pulled up the picture. I knew it was you. It's just like, he was there when they were killing him. And it's just like, this is crazy that you're here just thinking everything's okay. I mean, you don't want to apologize. You don't want to say anything. Like, no. Because this video is going to be on the internet. Yeah, he has the nerve to literally come outside thinking that we don't know what he looks like. How dare you? You're not going to be able to comfortably live in Minnesota after this, or anywhere. And you will be going back to jail. Trust. Trust. Yeah, he bailed out. How'd you get the money? How'd you get the money? And you're lucky that they don't have your address. You're lucky that they don't have your address. Hi. This is one of the police officers that was involved in killing George Floyd. He was out on bail today, and he's over here comfortably shopping in Cub Foods as if.
What?
Hello and welcome to the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube. I am your host, the whiteologist, Mr. Blows Your Minds, and this is Black Minds News Report. Black Minds News is the report. Articulate, transmit, communicate, insinuate, develop, investigate, decode, unveil, spread the news, whether it's by news, video, website, or quotes from publications. As I articulate this information at the creator of the universe, be here, heart, soul, and mind, and spirit. Cause why? The truth don't need no partner. As a descendant of the greatest people who created this land that we call the United States, we, the today's children, offspring, and present generation, we give honor to our city. You know what my motto show is? I'm never gonna tell you what I heard. I'm only gonna tell you what I know. Today's date is June 22nd, 2020. That's right, another live performance by Black Minds News. We're here with a couple stories we're going to break today. One, as you just seen in the intro there, I want to apologize for those who might have came in on the beginning and it seemed like I had a lot of static on my video, so I reset it. We're going to talk about what you just seen there. I have a few more of the stories. It seems like it's in the season right now. It seems like that people who are BADOS, at least we think they could, seem to be like, don't know how to stand up. And the thing they used to say back in the old day, if you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. But you're going to be a little surprised at some of the stuff that some of the people, based on the lineage they came from, but the position that they take, my God, right? So again, this is Black MINDZ News, and we're about to delve into some of these topics. So sit back and relax as we get into this broadcast. Hey, how's y'all doing, everybody? Again, this is your host, Mr. Blows Your Minds, and welcome to the most hated show in the black corner of YouTube, right? So like a lot of stuff is going on over here. Been fidgeting trying to get it right, so it just seemed like everything just seemed to be going in opposition, but you know, the show must go on. So, first and foremost, while we getting it in, I want to say what's good to my fam, my subscribers. What's good, fam? I know y'all been anticipating. I tried to do it. We got it back. It's Monday. We'll try to keep it going. I want to say thanking each and every one of y'all for saying and clicking on the video, subscribing and all that good stuff. Brand new ones. What's good to y'all? Welcome to the Black MINDZ News family. Passerbys, if you should happen to pass by, this is the most hated show on the black corner of the internet. Go down the aisle. We always got a grand open. If you see something that you might like, if you happen to see something that make you feel some kind of way, remember my motto of the show is the truth don't need no partner. Now, in the beginning there, what you seen there is the former police officer of Minneapolis, one of the co-conspirators who helped in the demise of our brother George Floyd. We see Jay Kung, right? Like Kung, like they say Kung Fu, Kung, right? And ironically, he had just got released out of jail the other night, and had a $750,000 bond. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was $1 million bond, but they could give you $750,000 under some kind of stipulations. So I think he took the stipulation. Somehow he got the $750,000, which you know how it goes, 10%, $75,000. He was able to walk, so he hit in the streets. So 2 out of the 4 was already up on the streets. So he just got out and ironically goes up into a Cub food store. I guess he had, the munchies or whatever it was. And ironically, how the creator works, somebody who, you think after an event that has gone across the globe, right? Let's think like this, something that has gone across the whole damn globe, you walking out there as if like nothing happened. I mean, too much in this country doesn't happen for you to just, the picture that you took when you got your photo, right? Everything, the beard gives you away. At least you should have shaved off the beard, right? Now, he said he came out nonchalantly like, it is what it is. I done bailed out, everything cool. That could have been catastrophic, depending on who was around, if it was, you understand? But, so in this case, the spirit of this woman here, who observed him right off the bat, she was like, she was staring at him so much that when he walked up to her, he's like, what, right? And she was like, it's you? She was like, what's your name? He's like, yes, it's me. Like, I knew it was you, right? I knew it was you. So, like, wait a minute. It's kind of like, you can't really believe your eyes. That, wait a minute. You should be in incognito mode. Like, too much didn't happen in this country for you to just be getting yourself and moving about like nothing done happened. So she identifies who he is. He identifies himself. And she's kind of like, giving him the rip. Like, wait a minute, man. Don't you feel some kind of remorse? You out here. Look at you. You going on about your life. A man that you held down, even though that you may not have been the major culprit. But again, we don't know what position you was into that. And we don't know, based on the autopsy, they tried, there's one aspect of the Minneapolis humans department, the autopsy department versus that when they end up getting independent, they both don't collaborate with each other, kind of like in opposition. But I had talked about that before. And the fact that you still have Derek Chauvin in there, and I think you got the other one, the Chinese cat, the Asian cat, he's still up in there. But see, the other two, now this cat here, he only had been on the job 90 days. Like this Kung, he was about 26 years old. He only been on the job about 90 days. So somehow, he's taking his orders, and so he doing what he doing. But the point is, you got a murder charge that is global. I think the last thing you needed to do is be out and to be seen like that as if everything is cool. And so she just goes on to give it to him, and now it doesn't hit the circuit, and everybody's kind of posting what they feel about it. But you got to ask yourself, man, I don't know how it would feel to be in that position, but I know one damn thing is I'm not going to be seen like that because, as she said, you lucky I don't have your address. Matter of fact, she was live, and if anybody was like trying to pinpoint where she was and they was on their way to get him, it was like, who's to say that nobody went out there watching where he went? So you're a marked man. Like she said, you're not going to be comfortable out here going to and fro like everything cool, as if like, what you did and what you participated is that we're gonna be good with that. And that's just kind of what it is. As Citizen Watch, that's something we all I think as society now, we're all getting involved when we see things that just seem to be out of place. Now there's some things that people are just doing that has nothing to do with just being a model citizen or somebody who's thinking that I need to intervene on the safety of the situation of somebody else. Some people just nosy as hell and just being in your business because they can. But in that case, it looked like, okay, she did what she had to do, and okay, it's all right. But that's what it is, that cat there, and 26 years old, the magnitude of what that is, you got to ask yourself. I mean, I seen a video the other day where D.L. Hughley fell out, passed out. Let's say he passed out on stage. And if any of y'all seen that, did you notice that when he fell out, other than the individual that, I don't know if he works at the club or not, but everybody else just kind of sat in their damn seat and looked at the shit as if like it was like a joke. The complacency that a lot of people got because of what I don't know, when they see something like that, they don't jump into action. They just kind of like, and it just didn't look good. But I'm just saying that by what you seen her do in that store, her having the acumen to know that this was who that individual was, because he could have just gone nonchalantly going through there and nobody would even have known. He had just got out, right? She was even giving him the fifth degree, talking about how'd you get the money. So you got to think about today. You can get somebody to get funded for you about no matter what it is. And people can contribute to you and you out of there regardless of how big the bond was. If people are going to, co-sign and give you the economics, then it is what it is. But I just wanted to bring that to attention just in case somebody who did not see that. It's not like the major thing of my show, but I know, my intros now will be something to lead in video before we get into what we do. So let's go ahead and get into the show part here, right? Let me go ahead and just want to bring that to your attention. Now, as you've seen on the thumbnail there, they talk about the blacks and our dependence is what created us to be in the condition we in, right? There's some people who believe that, right? And to the fact that may have some truth to that. I ain't gonna say have some truth. It does. It is true that not all of us, but majority of us, based on the history we as BAD has been in this land, and that the fact that historically, what we suffer, what we've been disenfranchised, and everything under the nine, I do that every time. But an individual who was an official in government in Mississippi, that's right, MIS, crooked letter I, humpback I, decided that they was doing something over there. I know you didn't hear about it, but I'm going to show it to you right here. Go ahead and let's get this going, and we'll be right back afterwards. Check this out, y'all. See, we good to go. Mississippi official. Black people dependent since slavery. I'm going to say that again. Mississippi official. Black people dependent since slavery. A white elected official in Mississippi says African Americans became dependent during slavery and have remained that way. This story has come out of ABC News, June 16, 2020, and this is how it reads. Jackson, Mississippi. After rejecting a proposal to move a Confederate monument, a white elected official in Mississippi said this week that African Americans became dependent during slavery and, as a result, have had a harder time assimilating into American life than other mistreated groups. Critics said his remarks were outrageous and called on him to resign. Confederate symbols are being debated in many states amid widespread protests across the United States against racism and police violence. Monuments that have stood for more than a century outside courthouses and on other public property have been removed or relocated in other southern states in recent days. The supervisors in several Mississippi counties are discussing the matter. In northeastern Mississippi, Lowndes County, supervisors voted along racial lines Monday against moving a Confederate monument that has stood outside the country's courthouse in Columbus since 1912. The monument depicts a Confederate soldier and says the South fought for a noble cause. 3 white supervisors voted against the proposal and 2 black supervisors voted for it. One point during the meeting, a white supervisor, Harry Sanders, said moving the monument would solve nothing and would be an attempt to erase history. We need to be reminded of some atrocities that happened, he said. If we are not reminded about it, we are going to have a tendency to forget it, and the history is going to repeat itself. After the meeting, Sanders, a Republican, was quoted by the Commercial Dispatch as saying that other groups of people who had also been mistreated in the past, he cited Irish, Italians, Polish, and Japanese immigrants, were able to successfully assimilate afterwards. The only ones that are having the problem, guess who? African Americans, Sanders said. You know why? In my opinion, they were slaves, and because of that, they didn't have to go out and earn any money. They didn't have to do anything. Whoever owned them took care of them, fed them, clothed them, worked them. They became dependent, and that dependency is still there. The Democrat right here, who depends on the black vote to get elected, they make them dependent on them. Democratic State Republican Kabir Kareem of Columbus, who is African American, told the Associated Press on Tuesday that Sanders should resign. Kareem called Sanders' remark appalling. Really unforgivable how outlandish they were, knowing that he has black people in his district, Kareem said. His revolutionist history is not accurate at all. His revisionist history is not accurate at all. Our ancestors didn't want to be slaves. Sanders did not immediately respond to a message the AP left on his cell phone voicemail Tuesday. A Mississippi law enacted in 2004 says no war monuments may be relocated, moved, disturbed, altered, renamed, or rededicated. But the law also says the governing body may move the memorial to a more suitable location if it is determined that the location is more appropriate to be displaying the monument. Lowndes County is 53% white and 45% black. Several blacks and white residents asked supervisors on Monday to move the Confederate monument. One of the 2 black supervisors, Democrat Leroy Brooks, said people were not trying to change history, but wanted to rechannel some things that are offensive. We're not saying tear it down, Brooks said. We are saying relocate it. So when people come to the courthouse and they look at it from a certain angle, they don't see something that looks like the Ku Klux Klan. Mississippi's second largest city, Gulfport, officials voted Tuesday to stop flying the state flag on city property because it includes the Confederate battle emblem that critics say is racist. Workers quickly removed the banner from City Hall. Mississippi is the only state with a flag that includes the emblem, a red flag topped with a blue X with 13 white stars, white supremacy embedded in the upper left corner of the flag in 1894. Several other Mississippi cities and counties and all 8 of the state public universities have stopped flying the state flag in recent years, saying that the Confederate symbol does not properly represent a state with 38% black population. People who voted in 2001 statewide election chose to keep the symbol on the flag. But recent protests are reviving debate about changing the design. Republican Governor Tate Reeves has said that if the flag is going to be changed, it should be done in a statewide referendum.
Fallout continues after the racial remarks made by the president of the Lowndes County Board of Supervisors, Harry Sanders. Thank you for joining us tonight at 6. District 2 Supervisor Trip Harston says Sanders said he will not resign. As for the board, Harston says their hands are tied. Supervisors can vote to remove Sanders as the president, but cannot vote to remove him from the board. Sanders would have to resign or be recalled by the people in his district. Harston today is calling for a special called meeting to vote to remove Sanders as the board president and to move the statute, but not all board members are on board with a special called meeting.
What purpose does it serve? So you've got a bigot from the head of the table to the side of the table, but he's still in the room, and it doesn't serve any purpose.
Now's the time. People are looking at us from all over the United States. They're looking at us from countywide, especially from my district, and are asking, what are you doing? What are you doing to do something about this? So we need to meet.
And says he changed his mind on moving the statue after talking with people in his district. Now he says that he understands why Supervisors Leroy Brooks and Jeff Smith don't want to meet. Supervisor John Holloman agreed to call for a special called meeting. Well, state leaders are now responding to District 1 Supervisor Harry Sanders' comments. Governor Tate Reeves says despite disagreeing with Sanders' comment, he won't call for him to resign.
He does not speak for me. He does not speak for the Republican Party. I thought his comments were wrong. I thought they were dead wrong. And so he definitely doesn't speak to me. I'm not going to get into who ought to resign and who ought to stay. That's between him and his constituents.
In his press conference, Reeves says he does not believe taking down Confederate monuments will change anything. Instead, Reeves says he would prefer to look towards a future where all Mississippians could work together. He may lose his job as president, but Harry Sanders has said that he will not resign from the County Board of Supervisors. Now, according to state law, voters do have the option of a recall vote if they lose confidence in an elected official. A petition must be signed by qualified voters and sent to the governor requesting a county elected official be stripped or recalled from office. Law requires 51% of the voters in that district to sign the petition. For example, there are 8,791 registered voters in District 1 of Lowndes County. In District 1, at least 4,484 valid signatures are required to send the request to the governor. State law is also specific when it comes to the length of the statement, no more than 200 words, and it must include grounds for removal. If a petition receives the needed signatures, it would then go before the governor for consideration.
So we are back, right? So we back. So we see Harry Sanders, an official from Mississippi, after they convened from a meeting that they had as a proposal that was about a Confederate monument, that he stated in that meeting, or after that a session, that the African Americans became dependent, right, during slavery, right? And that based on slavery, that it built in us this, I guess he's trying to say it's hard for us to assimilate into the America. And then he talks about how other mistreated groups, right? Now he say mistreated groups, right? Now, is there a difference between what we as BADOS, Black American Descendants of Slave, have gone through versus other groups? Have they not deemed us as, like if you was talking about number one seed in NCAA basketball, we the number one seed even though some people may try to take us or be number 2 would be the Holocaust, right? And those other atrocities that done took place. But when it comes to that number 1 seed, I think, those people try to monopolize it, but I guess we got the trump card. And with that being said, how do you equate other people who you think went through the same, and matter of fact, we are not, even though there might have been Juneteenth for those people who celebrate that, and the whole thing about the emancipation, but here we are in 2020 still fighting primarily on the same issues from the time that from our ancestors being released to where we are today. Now, different people, depending on what generation and era they come out of, they would say things have changed, things are better, and so forth, depending on who you talk to. But then overall, the things that right now that this country is going in turmoil over and the protesting and all about, that's systemic going all the way back to, again, the slave patrol and so forth. So for an individual to sit here and try to equate our atrocity, our Holocaust, and say that we don't assimilate, well, look at the dynamic that were instilled for us. Like FUBU, for us, by us, or for us and by them, right? And so assimilating, what does that even mean? Does assimilating mean that we need to be how you see everything? How you construct everything? That's what assimilating means? Now, the people who you talked about, you said they were mistreated groups. Do you consider what we as BADOS is just a mistreated? Matter of fact, this is such a topic that the United Nations is even part of the talk these days, right? The United Nations, the human rights is part of the conversation these days. So when you start talking on a human rights level, you're talking about some major things that you are depriving the people of their humanity. Now, the other people who you're talking about, let's say, as he talked about the Irish, the Italians, the Polish, and the Japanese. From last time I looked at, the Irish are white. The Italians are white. The Polish are white. Japanese are honorary whites, right? So, there might be some nigger in them, right? But they did a lot of washing to get that up out of them so that when they came here, right? Now think about that. For you to come here to the United States as Irish, if you're Irish, I think you come from Ireland. If you're Italian, you come from Italy. If you're from Polish, you come from Poland, right? If you're Japanese, you come from Japan. Where did the black man come from? Where did the black people come from? Yeah, once upon a time, you're going to tell me that you put me on some boats and you traversed me here, but we done been beyond that point. When you start talking about these other groups, Irish, Italian, and Polish, and Japanese coming here, that's after what we created, what we built. We gave you a place of refuge, right? Is that what we did? We gave you a place of refuge. But where is our place of refuge? Oh, now they will say the year of return, when they take you back to a place that, again, they want to send you out there empty hand, pocket, and everything. Just like they did our ancestors after they said you was emancipated. You can just leave with whatever you got on your back and fend for yourself in a system that says, you know what, I got nothing for you, man. I really ain't got nothing for you, man. Right? So here you trying to make an equation that these people who you say, well, they're assimilated, but they white. And they want it to be white. The problem is, where are who we are, but we're not allowed to be who we are. So when you say assimilating, what you're saying is, for those who used to play John Madden, remember the year when John Madden had the black coach with the white ass head? Remember that shit? John Madden had a black coach with a white head. And what did that represent? A black man got to have a white man's mind to be a head coach. So you can't be, again, as Willie Lynch let talk about, the horse and the nigga in the wild is not good for economics. See, because he feel like he can't trust you because he think like, well, if I don't have you conform to thinking the way I think, then guess what? You may be doing some things that I'm not trustworthy and I can't sleep good at night. So I have to know When he talking about assimilating, what he's saying is, I have to know that you think how I think. So you wouldn't think anything or do anything outside of the confines of the way I taught you. So since you won't simulate, life will be hard for you. Right? Since you won't simulate, I really don't got nothing for you. And we can look at the people amongst us that who though they call successful. Now again, I don't put a blanket on everybody who has what we may consider success, but there is a little give and take for you to get to certain levels, especially when you get education and so-called moving up the chains and, you know, business and so forth, dealing with people. You have to be liked by them. You can't just be in there hardcore, blackity black, black, blackity black, black, black. Even with that being said, you can't get nothing done, even though you may have your own business and so forth. Somebody may deny you because you're just too black for them. Right? And so here they was on the day that they were sitting there convening on a vote, 3-2, 3 white people and 2 blacks. The 2 black, you know, the 2 brothers that was in there was like, we want the flags to come down. Well, the 3, again, the old saying, I remember they used to talk about, it was a 10-to-1 rule, right? For every 10 niggas, there had to be 1 white man, right? 10-to-1 rule, which is make sure that so nothing can be, in the case, keep somebody, one of them, on eyes on you. In the case when it comes to power, it's always about having the disproportionate number to have you a small portion. So that way you cannot, something that you might know that's right. Let's say again, we're talking about assimilating 2 different mindsets here. This one mind says that there's nothing wrong, as he said. What did he say? He said something about history, right? He said moving the monuments wouldn't solve anything, right? It would just be an attempt to erase history, right? Right. Moving the monuments doesn't take away from what really actually happened. Now, there's some people, especially when it comes to our people, we think by things not being presented to us. Like right now, when everybody talking about this woke, I'm woke, I'm woke, I'm woke. Nah, nigga, your ass was the house been on fire all the damn time and you just come to wake the fuck up and realize, damn, the house on goddamn fire. Let me say that again. Nah, what it is, nigga, you just woke the hell up and you come to find out that the damn house is on fire and you woke up and like, god damn, the house on fire. That's all it is. Everything still been what it is. It's just you slow. You just waking up. Now again, I don't hold that against nobody. We all come at different knowledge and based on the simple fact of our circumstance and the people around us and so forth. So I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying when somebody talking about they just woke, the house been burning. You were sitting there nodding out, deep sleep, and then when you finally wake up, now people starting to hear it, and now they all of a sudden they think you got it. No. So your ambition is to try to eradicate everything so as to take away from the thing that you woke up to, that you've been hiding, or those who molded you try to keep you from knowing. And now that you know, you have this fervency to get out here and say, you know what, tear that down, get rid of this, get rid of that, get rid of that. Okay. Now, does that negate the fact that history is still going to be that even when you don't see them representations of it? That's what you got to ask yourself. Do those statues not being there mean that all of a sudden now that history ain't there? So that's what he's kind of referring to. He said, well, if we take them down, still they're going to erase history. And I agree with him, right? I'm not saying whether that's, whether you to do it. I'm just saying, no, you still need a reminder for the simple fact that you've been asleep all this damn time. Majority of us. And so you need markers sometimes to have your ass to remember so that you don't fall asleep again. You take them down, you'll go back to sleep. But as long as you know that the fire is still there, you didn't put it all the way out, that you still have cognizance of the fact that the fire is still there. So I agree with him to a point on that. And so the atrocity is for us. It's kind of like other people who say never to forget, right? Their mantra is never to forget. We got to have the same thing too. We have to be saying, man, we ain't gonna never forget what them took place. And the thing is, that's what make a lot of people mad. As a matter of fact, I think in my last show, I talked about how BLM Black Lives Matter. Now, again, all of us don't agree on the Black Lives Matter organization because we understand how they operate, funding, undermine people backdoor. We get all that, but we talk about the mantra as Black Lives because that's we as BADO, as black people in this country. Our lives matter. And see, when somebody come in, and we're going to talk about that a little later on because somebody said something that's going to trip y'all the hell out that you would not thought. Well, maybe, again, sometimes they say the apple don't fall far from the tree, but in this case, sometimes an apple don't bear the same fruit that you thought it was. But we're going to see that as we get to it. But, so anyway, with that being said, he said we need to be reminded of some of the atrocities that have happened. And if we are not reminded about it, we're going to go through and return to these same histories, and that's going to do nothing but repeat itself. So in a sense, he's okay, all right with that. But then to make the statement you say, then to me, you kind of like acknowledging the fact that, okay, you know, everybody used to tell us, well, grab yourself by the damn bootstrap, right? Black people need to pull yourself by your damn bootstrap. What the hell wrong with you? Can't there's something wrong with you? You're slow, you're deep. What's wrong with you? Well, let's look at what Henry Sanders say, right? Henry Sanders said other groups of people who had also been mistreated in the past, as again talking about the Irish, Italian, Polish, and Japanese, were able to assimilate afterwards. Did they have redlining for them? Did they not allow them separate but equal? Did they have to go through board of education? Did they have to go through black code laws? Did they have to go through, you understand? They didn't have to go through that. What they did is they put in work, and guess how they got their white card? They had to put work on us. We, BADOS. Who you think them overseers was? Irish, Italian, right? You know what I'm saying? When they were considered smoke whites, as they call them, the smoke whites, right? Because of their history going back in Europe and then with the Moors and all that other good stuff. So a lot of them have, as Paul Mooney would say, shake a tree, a nigga gonna fall out of the tree. So they got some, but then what they did is they kept it white, or tan, the Spanish, whatever it is to keep it so that it would look in appearance, but it would be faint in the blood. So when they was going through the atrocities they was going through in Europe, they was able to pack up and come to this place that they call the United States. As I told the other day when we're talking about that the whole marquee to the country about bringing your tithe and poor and this being a melting pot. They weren't talking about what it is today. They were talking about them. Bring your Irish, your Polish, you understand? Bring all them other whites to one place and they're going to build this new. But see, in time, it ended up being now we holding them to the words that they said. But these people here still came with the complexion for the protection. They didn't come here as melanated people. So how do you say again that they assimilated afterwards and they were successful? There was avenues given to them. Now, again, I know each one of them got a history about some things. You got the mob on one, and the other one was the police department, right? So they was able to find a niche. Where were we able to find a niche? Well, what is the niche other than entertaining? We can shoot a ball, catch a ball, run with a ball, dance on beats, you know what I'm saying? Sing some tunes. That was the only niche you was going to get because that's where you still was getting more of the economics from the talent. But we have other gifts as to our mind and ability, but that was not going to be a part for us in this. So how was we supposed to assimilate when technically when you go back, the only thing they wanted us to do was be agriculture. Keep using, like you told Malcolm X in the movie, said, I want to be a lawyer when I grow up. No. You're good with your hands. Jesus was a carpenter. Wouldn't you like to be a carpenter too? Right? Your brain ain't that, you're good with your hands, right? So that's the way they want to keep us in that position. And so you say that because of the condition we was in, that somehow because we were slaves and that somebody owned us and they fed us and they worked us and that made us where we couldn't do nothing. No, it ain't just that. What about the fact that all the things that we were prohibited from doing? Why is that so hard for these people to understand? Why is that the hardest thing for them to understand? Like like situations in these articles and situations we come in, why is it that these people come from such an angle of thought that they can't rationalize and look like, wait a minute, don't you understand all the obstacles that have been laid before us? And that all these obstacles made it not where it was an easy road for us to make? That here you got all the opportunities and access and all the wealth that was generated off the backs of my ancestors. And then you look at me square in my damn eye and you know what you tell me? You tell me, well, you could have did what I did. Not if we played under the same playbook I came from. How's that possible, right? But that's how they look at stuff. That's what they want to tell you. So he says that, what was else he said? He said something that, he said they didn't have to go out, earn any money. Well, I was going to earn money. Wait a minute. Earn money. Now, wait a minute. Remember when they so-called emancipators, right? Was nothing but just an announcement, right? It wasn't no law, right? So we still in that same position. The game just done changed a little bit. But let's just say, after emancipation, you let our people go. You know, just the other day, everybody celebrate Juneteenth, which is they didn't get the word to them till about 2 years later. You know what I'm saying? So if somebody was going to try to hold out as long as they could, if they can. As a matter of fact, I even did a show where the ones that they had, some of my ancestors were still into 65. 1965, you were still having people who was even from 1865, when another 100 years after the fact. Should they be getting some reparations? Maybe they should be getting some reparations too, right? So I actually did a story on that too. And any of y'all who have not subscribed to my other channel was Black MINDZ TV. It's out there too. Go over there, subscribe over there too as well. But so to say that we couldn't make money and all that stuff, you let us go with nothing after we done did all that work. You didn't give us, like those who had servitude, they got a package. They got land. And they got 50 acres of land for every person that was part of their family with the children. And then they got a starter package with a suit and a set amount of money. You gave us nothing. Homestead Act, you gave us nothing. So how does somebody sit there and say, well, the dependency of what slavery put upon them, are that's still to this day? You damn right it's still there today. Because you have not remedied from what shit caused. I know everybody don't want to talk like, you don't want to say that, but we got to say that. We have not remedied for what the cause and effects to that is. So what you do is you try to play reverse psychology and put it back up on you, right? So he goes on, what else he said in there? He said, whoever owned them, took care of them, fed them, clothed them, worked them because they dependency is still here because what they took care of. No, it wasn't that. How you going to say the people who had all the skill in this land, they built the country that you, on the opulence that you and your people to this day, y'all sit here and live the comfort life, and I'm not going to say all of you, but those families who are the beneficiaries of it, how you going to sit there and say that we were supposed to do something when you ain't shared nothing? You got 100, 1,000, 1,000,000% profit off our labor. How can you sit there and say something like that? And our dependency, because you created us to be a consumer nation. You created us to be a consumer nation. When they talk about in our hoods where we live at, why we get all these damn tickets? Why all them damn boots and shit on our damn car? Because you make money off of us. We go to jail more than anybody else. You make money off of us. Every form and fashion of way you making money off of, but we can't make no money unless you can make money off us. But then you say we dependent. No. I think the dependency is the other way around. I think that dependence is on the other side of the table. Somebody trying to sit there talking about we need to depend on you. No, I think it was you always depended on us. I think without us, where would you be? I don't think if it would have been just you and your people doing all the stuff that we had to do, could have got done. Just like somebody want to tell us they built the damn pyramids. Look at you. You gonna be in that hot ass sun, putting all them damn bricks and think that work would have got finished? I don't care how many would have been in it. Work would have never got done because you ain't built like that. So anyway, he believe the motherfucker said some shit like that. He gonna believe that the dependency that show today is because it's just a natural inclination for us not to want to do what we would do, waiting to be dependent and want some welfare. No, motherfucker, we ain't never had nothing to inherit. We had nothing inheritable for generations. But y'all are, benign neglect? I think it's something like that, right? They deny what is self-evident. Anything to not be accountable, because that's really becoming the byword today. Accountability. Right? But when it's time for somebody else to be accountable, they got every point, they point every other direction, moving. It's not me, it's him, it's them. Y'all doing all kinds of things. So that's just crazy. But anyway, can't believe a motherfucker that said that. Harry Sanders, so now they want his job. What kind of stuff is that? He in Mississippi. Matter of fact, when you think about Mississippi, on Martin Luther King holiday, they commingled it with Robert Lee Day. Right? That's how they hold on to their history that he wants to be dependent. You must be talking about still down there, because Mississippi, of our people, you ever seen some of the videos or been down south and seen how our people living down there? Ain't no sharing no wealth. It's all, you know what I'm saying? It seems like it's still in them times. But you know how they is. They're very deflective on shit. But anyway, so I'll move on. Right? Take this quick break and come right back. Check this out. Let's do this and come right back. A COVID-19 vaccine will work only if trials include Black participants. Experts say. You know I'm going to say that again. A COVID-19 vaccine will work only if trials include Black participants, experts say. The reasons I hear African Americans will not participate are heartbreaking and disappointing. I have heard about the Tuskegee Experiment a lot. This story is coming out of the NBC News. The story was done June the 17th, 2020, and this is how it reads. Talitha Hodges has an arduous task: persuade Black people who have a deep mistrust of experimental drugs and medical institutions to participate in clinical trials to help find a vaccine for the deadly coronavirus. It is quite the paradox. African Americans have been disproportionately devastated by COVID-19, but they are inadequately represented in human studies that would treat a disease that has claimed more than 116,000 lives in the United States. Almost a quarter of those were Black, according to a study called Color of Coronavirus by APM Research Lab. That's why I do what I do, said Hodges, a clinician at Infinite Clinical Trials outside Atlanta. And that's why I am here in this neighborhood that is predominantly African American. African American participation in this trial is critical, medical experts have said. Researchers of pharmacogenetics, the science that studies how genetic factors affect reactions to drugs, stress that medicine could produce different results based on race and genetics, socioeconomics, and environmental dynamics. Translation: a vaccine might not work in African Americans if African Americans do not participate in the clinical trials to create the drug. And so the power of persuasion ranks high on Hodges' job. She has to overcome the Tuskegee study of untreated syphilis in the Negro male. When infected Black men who solicited to be a part of a 40-year study from 1932 to 1972 to treat the disease with penicillin and were offered free medical exams, free meals, and burial insurance. But they were not given the drug. 28 of the original 399 Black men died of syphilis. 100 died of related complications. 40 of their wives were infected. And 19 of their children were born with congenital syphilis. That dark past remains a hurdle to clear. The reason I hear African Americans will not participate are heartbreaking and disappointing, Hodges said. I've heard about the Tuskegee Experiment a lot, and I've heard they, doctors, will give me the virus, and they will put a chip inside me. Many say their parents raised them to never participate in medical research. It's all tough to overcome. Dr. Larry Graham, a retired pulmonologist, understands the lack of trust, but insists that African Americans have to get over it. Genetics related to racial difference make it essential that we be involved in broad-based and diverse clinical trials of medications and vaccines, he said. The expanding discipline of pharmacogenetics has taught us that we may respond differently than other races to both medicines and vaccines. We must be sure it works in Black folks. This can only be determined by our inclusion in the research-based trials of such vaccines. But Dr. Aletha Maybanks, American Medical Association Chief Equity Officer and Group Vice President of the Center for Health Equity, says she is concerned that there is not an urgency from institutions to include African Americans in the myriad vaccine studies underway. There is a fear with COVID-19 how intentional the hundreds of trials are about diversity. Maybanks said, I'm not clear and would make the assumption that they are not intentional. If so, I haven't heard about it yet. But if the distrust pre-COVID-19 was strong, the chances are even less now that Black people will participate. I worry about exploitation and medicines being used on patients without their knowledge or consent. Hodges said coronavirus human trials at her location will not occur for another month or two. She has been successful in getting African Americans to participate in other trials, most recently for women who experience hot flashes through distributing educational pamphlets. Information is power, she said. It also helps that Hodges is Black. They see me and give me a chance or at least share my information with them, she said. And in extreme cases, she said, she invokes the experience of some cancer patients to make her point. When the patients with cancer hears there's nothing else we can do, they turn often to clinical trials, Hodges said. It is the last resort. With the coronavirus, the question becomes, would you rather be on a ventilator or try a drug? That's a view that might get people to participate. For Maybank, the way to bridge the divide is simple. Work at it. With any relationship you build it, she said, folks doing work from leading institutions have asked, how do we build trust? Well, it's not rocket scientists. It's about building relationships. Are you getting to know me beforehand? Are you speaking in a language I understand? Are the concepts broken down so that they are digestible? Are you present? Are you giving resources to our neighborhoods beforehand? That's not rocket science. It's building a relationship. That's how you build trust. And trust is a fundamental value in humans. There's no rocket science behind it. Dr. John Maupin, the former president of Meharry Medical College and Morehouse School of Medicine, said a collection of historical black colleges and universities that focus on public health is working to form a consortium that will focus on culturally sensitive care. Specific clinical research, he said. How do you administer treatment? Do you present a cure at an early or later stage? Is a higher dosage needed? Those questions have to be answered because everybody's different. Races have different genetic makeups and genetic impacts. So it's clinically important that clinical trials are across the spectrum of individuals' differences that pick up their minute differences that may not be noticed from one racial makeup to another. That's why we have to be there. Maupin acknowledged that the challenge to change minds is significant. The problem is, do I trust them? That's why the ability for a Morehouse and Meharry to have a clinical research center is vital, he said. It will allow black people to come. We have to have more HBCUs conducting trials because people will trust them more than they will see or will some other institutions. I'm not saying all are untrustworthy. I'm saying there would be greater trust in institutions led by those who come from the patient's black background. Hodges took it a step further. I often tell patients they have a chance to take a drug that's not only could help them, but could be very important to the next generations. So we are back, right? So that was the article there talking about that they need black people, black Americans. They got these two black women who are going to try to persuade black people because they say we have a deep mistrust about the experimental drugs. And why do we have that? Because we have a history. We've been here, as they want to say, 1619 to now, which is 400 on that count, but some people even say 500, right? But in that whole period of time, in our epigenetics, right, that which resides in us, those are ancestors that was before us, that are in us, and they say trauma can be transferred from generation to generation. So Harriet Washington has a book called Medical Apartheid, if anybody hasn't read that. And in that book, it talks about how, when you talk about the AMA, American Medical Association, and how that was created on the experimentation on our people, right? Then there's the most infamous one that, I'm going to look at here, which is the Tuskegee Experiment, right? And so as this article talks about, and I'm going to get back to that point, it talks about how this dire need for black people to be, to get into this clinical studies and clinical trials because we are a quarter of the 116,000 people whose lives have been succumbed to COVID-19, right? And we over here, we touched that again. How did the COVID get into the hood and so forth? Remember, I touched all that, right? But when you take that quarter of that 116,000, you're going to get 29,000, right? And that would go across the board. So if we take that quarter of how we say there's blacks, white, Hispanic, and I guess there's other groups, but I guess some other groups have to fall in one of the categories other than maybe Asian or something, right? So there's about 4 groups. I don't know Indian where they fall again. Like some of them are honorary white, so they kind of blur the lines sometimes when they're talking like that. But when you remember how they were propagandizing that black people getting it, black people, black, it was just like it was the black man's or the black people. When I say black man, I mean this entire. I'm not trying to X you out, sisters. I'm not trying to X you out, but I just say that in general. But they're trying to say that Corona and us was like we went back like 4 flats with a Cadillac. We was cool like that, and then the scene had an affinity with us, like you know what I'm saying? Like we were, y'all watch out. There's black people around because white people got to the point like, oh, wait, we can go outside, right? We ain't the ones catching it. At least that's what the propaganda was telling, right? So, but if you take that quarter of 116,000, you're gonna get 29,000. That can go 29,000 times 4. So that's even across the board. So I don't see how we're getting it more than anybody else, right? But that's the way they've been telling us. So now they're saying that because of our mistrust of them, based on our history, that they're going to use these 2 black women, Aletha Maybach, and I can think another sister name off the top of my head, but one is in Atlanta, say because I'm in a black community, and just recently we just seen D.L. Hughley, as I said at the top of the show, that he fell out, and now that he done went to that damn hospital, now he got COVID. I don't know if he had COVID before. I don't know if he was systematic A before, and now all of a sudden now he got it. So hearing it here, he's probably was going to be a sponsor in what they're talking about here, right? Just remember how you heard it here. So did you hear in that article I just read to you something that was a little bit like, damn, really? The word that they use in this article was called pharmacogenetics. I'm going to say that again. Pharmacogenetics. What is pharmacogenetics, Mr. Blow Your Mind? Well, pharmacogenetics, according to what they stated, science, how genetic factors affect the reaction to drugs. You know how some people are saying, and we talk about designer drugs, like designer babies, and you got designer drugs, right? So then is it possible what this pharmacogenetics is saying is that, you mean all medicines don't prescribe to everybody? You mean it has to be ethnic specific in medicine? Hold that thought for a second, y'all. Hold that for a second. Pharmacogenetics is saying that the medicine that they've been giving you, if it's not ethnic specific, it may have an entirely different effect on you. Did something fall out? So you've been giving us medicine that wait a minute. So you went to the store and you bought some medication that might be Eurocentric, ethnic specific, but you put it in a black body, so you might think it's going to work on you the same way, but it don't. That's what they were saying in this article here. That you're going to have a different reaction to the drug because of your race and ethnic makeup. So, medicine produced different results just on race, genetics, social, economics, environmental dynamic. It's the same thing to saying the reason why we was getting all this damn COVID. So, you got the underlying conditions. You got the underlying conditions. That's why, you guys, you eat all the fat back and hog maw and pit and chitlins and, got heart disease and, you drink Kool-Aid like syrup, all that. That's why you guys got all that, right? Right? So we have all that. And so that's the reason why we can get it. Not that it's not just a virus that just attacked because you're vulnerable. No, you have to have all these preconditions, and that's why you're getting more than anybody else. So that means that somebody can be giving you medicine, even though it's supposed to be, let's say, you know, they don't cure shit here, right? They don't cure nothing. They only give you a lot. They give you like going to, when you was a kid, going to get a damn shot, they give you a sucker, right? They don't really cure anything. There's some things they do cure, but there's some things they just give you kind of a sucker just to, so you can deal with the pain. So, again, race, genetics, social, economic, environment, dynamics. So all of them right there say black to me. Everything in that distance is black, 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 black. It's about you. You. So, goes on, says, in other words, what they're saying is that the drug isn't going to work possibly for you. So we are trying to get you guys to get into these clinical trials. But we know you got a problem with that because of our history. Now, the country did apologize to the family, but it didn't apologize to the whole nation, right? You know, we're talking about the Tuskegee Experiment. And they didn't even say experiment. They tried to say the Tuskegee something else, right? Now, the thing is, this is a question you got to ask yourself about that Tuskegee Experiment. It went from 1932 to 1972, right? That's 40 years. But when you look at it, they try to make it, now look how they do the sleight of hand to trick your ass. This is how they trick your ass. They tell you that the 28 of the 399 who died, and that was the original, right? So the original ones they set up, it was 399. And most people think that that's all that was done, 399 people through that whole 40-year period. I even know that they was even doing that stuff down in Mexico, that I seen some articles of reading about that, and was trying to, you know, go back and get them to apologize and reparate them for that too. So we have to ask ourselves, and you know how they work. If they do it in one place, oh, they did it in other places. You just haven't never got the evidence. I'm going to say that again. If you want to think that that Tuskegee Experiment only happened there, then you really don't know what's going on here, do you? Huh? So if they do an experiment trying to find out how syphilis work on you, well, damn, ain't syphilis happening to y'all? Because how we was getting it. We know how we was getting it. You know, mother, you know what I'm saying? Becky looked good, Karen looked good. Oh, there, you know, mother, you find videos with their, right? Then bringing it back to the, right? Because otherwise, their sister doing it. Now, again, going back in them times, you know, I say this out of tongue in cheek, but, you know, our grandmama, great grandmamas and them, they used to work for Mr. Charlie. Mr. Charlie had them clean their house, cooking their house. Yeah, you think Mr. Charlie sometimes when trying to proposition your family? You won't keep this job, huh? So there's a lot of things that we don't that are never spoken about, right? I know we don't even want to think about that kind of stuff, but I'm just saying, how did that stuff get in amongst us, right? So yeah, you got to cover all four corners when we talk about this stuff, right? So they talk about 100 died of complications, 40 wives who had husbands who contracted it. They allowed that to go and manifest and get in them. And then they said it was about 19 children who contracted congenital syphilis and so forth. So they sat back and watched you. They had the penicillin the whole time. But that was only here. They said 49 states in this country. And we're going to just say all those that when we were residing there between the 1930s and 70s, because what was happening to the 1930s and 40s, y'all? We were migrating. The Great Migration, which was leaving the South and going up north. And what happened, a lot of them, when they went up north, due to the simple fact, they got stranded because those jobs were cut out on them, and that whole nonsense with the whole shit coming with the welfare, all that shit, that was all generated during that time. So it's kind of like, there's a book called Acres of Skin. There's a book called Acres of Skin. And it was like people, again, somebody who might be hearing me, and what's up to you, Furious God? Someone who've been to the penitentiary know that you can make some money doing them experiments, put some money on the books. Well, that's what they was doing. So now what happens is you become a guinea pig. You need some money, need some commissary. You want to do this project, you want to do this experiment for you. You ain't going to do nothing. We're just going to put a little patch on you, take a little this and here and there, right? But we're just going to say they were doing stealthily stuff. We were doing stuff to people they didn't know how they was getting it. But again, the only one that got exposed was this one. And guess what? They advocating, say the trust is, okay, wait, you did the wrong thing there, sir. No, go back. Yeah, we didn't need that. Okay, there you go. So they want to advocate that the trust should come, that they're going to say HBCUs, right? They say, well, if the HBCUs do it, they're historical black colleges. You guys are familiar with that. And so, the safety is there. Wait a minute. Didn't the Tuskegee Experiment happen at the HBCU? Let me say that again. Did not the Tuskegee Experiment happen at the HBCU? So what trust is in that? Oh, see? I'm about to say all kinds of stuff to us. You know what I'm saying? That's just how it goes. When they, you know what I'm saying? Tony Smith in the house, got Black Beauty in the house. What's good to both of y'all as well? So, ain't that something? So now they trying to get us to get into the experiment so that they can test it. So they said again, you need that in order for them to have the specifics to your genetics and your ethnic makeup, that medicine is race specific. Did you know that? Did you know that pharmacogenetics is what they know how to race specific the vaccine or the drug? When did you ever hear that before? Some of you may have known, I'm just saying. They said something, they told on themselves. They done told you. Right? Ain't that something, huh? Now again, I'm not telling nobody not to do anything. Everybody got a decision they got to make if they had that choice has come. Because the way that we all been out, those who don't have job no more, and got to take tests and all this stuff. And like I said, there's going to be a lot of advocacy on people based on the simple fact that, again, like I say, I'm pretty sure D.L. Hughley going to be one now that they done diagnosed him with it. Right? So it's just a matter of time. We're going to see all kinds of, because we've seen in the beginning was Idris Elba, Tom Hanks, all them, right? And I don't give a fuck no Tom Hanks. But anyway, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, but I just wanted to bring that to your attention that had came out there that they talking about they need black people to be doing these clinical trial tests so that they can get a more specific, a gene or genetic specific vaccine that works directly for us. So guess what? If that shit ain't what that is, you don't know. So let's just say that, again, I always look at four corners diabolically to say somebody makes something that's supposed to do something. But they know the alternative is, because it don't be race specific to you, it may have an alternative reaction, and it could be part of a plan. Don't never throw that shit out that it can't. But anyway, we'll move on. All right, so this one here is going to trip you out. All right, let's see. Let's take this break here, and then we're going to go right into that here. So check this out. We'll be right back. Check this out. Muhammad Ali's son said his dad wouldn't have supported Black Lives Matter movement or protest over George Floyd's death. You know I'm going to say that again. Muhammad Ali's son said his dad wouldn't have supported Black Lives Matter movement or protest over George Floyd's death. This story is coming out of the Yahoo News, June the 20th, 2020, and this is how this reads. Muhammad Ali Jr., the son of late boxing icon Muhammad Ali, told the New York Post in an hour-long interview that his father wouldn't have supported the Black Lives Matter movement, calling it racist. Ali, who died age 74 in 2016 as a result of complications of Parkinson's disease, was a known activist who in 1964 joined the Malcolm X-led Nation of Islam. Ali Jr. said he believed his father would have supported the All Lives Matter movement and thought the legendary boxer would have believed current protesters were nothing but devils, after some demonstrations have turned destructive. He said he supported President Trump and believed his father would have too. Muhammad Ali Jr. said he did not believe his father would have supported the current Black Lives Matter movement, calling participants in the movement racist, New York Post reported Saturday. I think it's racist, Ali Jr., the legendary boxer's only biological son, whose relationship with his father completely fell apart in the final decade of his life, said according to the reports. He added, it's not just Black Lives Matter, white lives matter, Chinese lives matter, all lives matter, everybody's life matter. God loves everyone. He never singled anyone out. Killing is wrong no matter who it is. My father would have said, they ain't nothing but devils. Ali Jr., 47, told the New York Post, my father said all lives matter. I don't think he'd agreed. Ali Jr. pointed towards some of the more destructive actions of some protesters in recent weeks as part of his own dissatisfaction with the Black Lives Matter movement. While some protests, particularly early on, turned destructive, many on the still ongoing demonstrations have remained peaceful. Black Lives Matter is not a peaceful protest. Antifa never wanted it peaceful. I would take them all out, Ali Jr. said. It's a racial statement, he said, of Black Lives Matter. It's pitting black people against everyone else. It starts racial things to happen. I hate that. In 2016, Ali's most famous child television personality, retired boxer Layla Ali, made similar statements saying, all lives matter. Yes, Black lives matter. Yes, white lives matter. Asian lives matter. All lives matter, the boxing world champion said, and that's kind of what my focus is. On Wednesday, Ali told KTLA she thought it was a shame that black Americans were still fighting to secure the same things her father supported. His grandsons are even having to fight 2 generations later, but we're going to keep it at it because it's all about equality for black people and all people, she said. Nationwide protests against police brutality began following the police killing of 46-year-old George Floyd in Minneapolis. And since fired police officer was recorded kneeling on Floyd's neck for more than 8 minutes while he said he couldn't breathe and even after he lost consciousness. 3 other officers have also been fired from Minneapolis Police Department. All 4 have been charged for their involvement. Don't bust up shit. Don't trash the place, Ali Jr. told the Post. You can peacefully protest. As NPR noted, his father, the legendary late boxer, often nicknamed the greatest, was a known activist, notably making headlines in 1967 for his refusal to be inducted into the United States Army in 1967, citing his opposition to the Vietnam War, his religious beliefs, and his identity as a black Muslim. In 1964, Ali, born Cassius Clay, joined the Malcolm X-led Nation of Islam and changed his name to Muhammad Ali to rid himself of his name, of his slave name. In an hour-long interview with the news outlet, Ali Jr. defended the police and said they don't wake up and think I'm going to kill a nigger today or kill a white man. I never had a bad scene with a cop. They've always been nice and protect me. I don't have a problem with them, he told the New York Post. While he said the former Minneapolis police officer should not have killed Floyd, he said there was more to the story. The officer was wrong with killing that person, but people don't realize there was more footage than what they showed. The guy resisted arrest. The officer was doing his job, but he used the wrong tactic. He said, adding, he believed that Antifa, the leaderless, decentralized group of left-wing activists, had been responsible for turning protests violent, and that he agreed with the president that they should be classified as terrorist groups. Ali Jr. said he believed his father would have supported President Trump.
While the president's travel ban is tied up in court, the administration has ordered border and customs officers to raise their scrutiny of travelers. We've told you about some visitors who say they've been detained because of their Muslim faith. Well, now it's happened again, this time to two citizens, a son and ex-wife of the late boxing champ Muhammad Ali. Jerika Duncan spoke with them.
I never felt so uncomfortable in this country in my life. Never.
66-year-old Khalila Camacho Ali and her 44-year-old son, Muhammad Ali Jr., say custom agents detained them after asking about their religion while at Fort Lauderdale Hollywood International Airport. They had just returned from Jamaica.
He said, took me to the side and asked me my name. And I was like, Muhammad. And he asked me my religion. And I was like, what do you ask me about religion? I said, I'm Muslim.
Ali's mother says she was taken to a separate room and asked the same questions. She says she showed agents this picture of her former husband, the legendary Muhammad Ali, hoping it would ease tensions, but it did not.
What do you think your former husband, Muhammad Ali, is saying?
He's probably trying to fight out of his grave to come and knock Trump out in 8. That's what I think.
Get through customs without.
Attorney Chris Mancini represents the Alis.
And it's very clear that the Alis were selected specifically because they had Arabic names for secondary inspection, and then they were asked about their religious beliefs.
A law enforcement official told CBS News the Alis were not detained because of their religion or name. U.S. Customs and Border Protection released a statement which read in part, all international travelers arriving in the U.S. are subject to CBP inspection.
The Alis say they were not given an explanation as to why they were held. Their attorney says they've received over 50 calls this month, Scott, from people who say they've gone through similar incidents.
Jerika Duncan for us tonight. Jerika, thank you.
No.
What are you?
I'm black and beautiful.
What is your nationality?
My nationality is Afro-American.
Suppose I had some money in my pocket. Suppose I gave you $1 to say that you're an American Negro. This is money now. Money talks. Money talks. This dollar. And if you don't say it, you don't get it. You're an American Negro, aren't you?
No.
You won't have any money. You know you need money, don't you?
Yes.
You need money to live, don't you?
Yes.
All right. All you have to say, Leon, is that you're an American Negro. Aren't you an American Negro?
All right, so we are back, right? So that was Muhammad Ali Jr. in a article, as I read to you. First and foremost, let me say this. His daddy, Muhammad Ali, we got much love for Muhammad Ali. Not saying I even don't have no love for him, but I think some things need to be said that just seem sometimes, I don't know what's going on lately, right? You seeing a lot of people who probably color of our skin is our kin, but they saying some things that's like, okay, maybe you showing where you are internally. Again, remember the John Madden black body, white head, but okay. But first of all and foremost, Muhammad Ali, much love, respect for what he stood for, what he was about, the whole nine, right? Now, sometimes the apple don't fall far from the tree, and sometimes the tree don't bear the same damn fruit. How about that, right? So we see that Ali Jr. did a New York Post interview, right? And we see that it was about an hour-long interview, and he states how the Black Lives Movement, the Black Lives Matter movement, is racist, right? That's what he said. Now, again, I'm not advocating for Black Lives Matter movement, Black Lives Matter, the organization. That ain't got nothing to do with me. That's for those that's what you do, fine. That's fine. But as a BADOS, a Black American descendant of slave, Black lives, that equates to me and you and us and we, right? So I'm saying when you say it's racist, what do you mean by racist? Because again, the term or the understanding of what they define, and again, dictionary is what we say, and we both say. A person who shows or feels discrimination or prejudice against people of other races, or who, let's say, have that particular race superior, or hold themselves in a particular race to be superior. Now, when you say racist, you as a black man, do we hold that to be what we espouse on the daily? Do we have institutions that are prohibiting other people from being able to, live the life, what they say, life pursuit of happiness, right? We don't have any institutions nor any obstacles to actually prohibit anybody other than the fact that if we decide not to work, right? If we decide to say we have certain talents, let's say like with the NBA, as I did the other day, when they talk about, or they want to try to hold out and they kind of divided on that. Now, in that case, you have the power to determine whether that's going to be done or not. But you're still an employee. So a racist in this case has the power to do a lot of things, and you saying that Black Lives Matter movement, it's not really the organization. It was we as the black spirit that rose from May 25th, 2020, when we all seen what we seen with the brother George Floyd take his final breath for 8 minutes and 46 seconds is the number that everybody's going to subscribe to, 846, what that means. And when we seen that, as I say, Robin Harris used to say, festivity, it was the culmination. It was that one that was like, enough shit was enough. We done seen too many. We heard many stories. We got to see partials of the story. We got to see bits of the story. Some we even seen. But this one particular here, on that particular day, I'm going to say once again, on May 25th, 2020 was Memorial Day. Memorial Day was something that our ancestors created, that somebody usurped, hijacked, and made it now it's a national holiday, talking about what they talking about, right? So that day, our ancestors was here like they had been since that day forth, resonating in all of us. And guess what? That's what that ended up being the culmination, and that all those who joined it had nothing really to do per se with the organization. It was the spirit that was in us that rose, that said enough shit was enough, and they wanted to do something to show. So you took it upon yourself to say that they racist, because again, who benefits when you say that? It's like that Candace Owens. Now, did y'all see the video she just came out the other day with? Called herself kind of retracting but still staying on course after Dave Chappelle said what he said, right? But many people have come out here and said some things and then trying to equate the fact that like there's a one way to do shit, right? Like there's just only one way to do shit, and if you don't do it that way, then you're doing it wrong. But his thing was that all lives matter, right? And we know when we hear them talking about this all lives matter, we know what they saying. I mean, what motherfucker needs somebody to say all lives matter? That's a given. Nobody had to say all lives matter. The reason why people saying black lives matter is because why? Black people are with somewhat of impunity of innocent people who in situations that shouldn't even, their life shouldn't even be taken, but seem to be taken and is being caught on video. Again, black people, me as BADOS and we as family and everybody else that's a part of that, you don't never see us out here advocating for somebody that we know. We say, man, you know, you was on bullshit. That was some bullshit. Nigga, you know you wrong. We don't get on that shit. But they try to commingle. They try to mix everything up and say that like we advocate for everything. No, it be the shit that we just like, man, hold on, man. That shit wasn't right. And that shit wasn't right. So you try to make it seem like all lives matter. It's because really what done happen is BLM, and we don't use it. But again, just using it, I can take plenty stories that anytime you see somebody, whether they just writing it on the wall, have a flag with it, or just saying it, it's like that is the word you can actually use. Like when somebody said they use the nigger word on us, I think all you have to say is Black Lives Matter, and I think that's equivalent to like the nigger word to them. Let me say that again. I think the BLM, which is the Black Lives Matter, which is again, that don't mean we all subscribe to the damn organization. I just think the slogan in itself, as he said, Ali Jr. said, it's kind of like it's an antagonizer. It's making us like we're separate versus others. Well, damn, we've been beat the fuck down for hundreds of damn years and deprived and everything else. What we supposed to keep doing? Oh, the book said turn the other damn cheek. We done did all that. If you go in this pocket, give him the other pocket, right? Right? If he gonna walk over the damn mud, you throw your coat, let him walk over it, right? His mama can't let him suckle from her breast. Give your woman, let her. You get what I'm saying? We done did everything that somebody want, and guess what? None of that don't work. So maybe that playbook ain't no good no damn more, right? Maybe that playbook don't work no damn more. So to say all lives matter, if that's a piss trigger word, because we looking at what you mean all lives matter. What is in your life that you having problems with? You that got the so-called, let's say, privilege. What in your life that you have, you got to be saying that. And then I was even talking about their job, my blue lives matter. You could be black and be blue lives, and I bet your ass still ain't equivalent to the other ones in there. So that's all game too. So we see that he also started talking about like, he said that the current protesters, he looked at them as nothing but devils, right? You heard me read that, right? Now, again, I got to take this here because let me show y'all something. He said that. He said he using rhetoric that he's like, it's like reversing and putting on us, right? He's saying we devils. Now we the damn devils, right? Like, damn, wait a minute. Okay, I remember some people who used to say that, but that wasn't us, right? I know in somebody's particular religion book, they had us in there as that, right? Well, let me see this. Let me do this. Let's go. Let's take it from his father, because he's supposed to be speaking for his father, right? He's supposed to be speaking in reference like it's for his father. Let's see what his daddy would have had shit, right? If daddy was still here, I put the conjurer up. Bring him up right now in front of everybody's eyes. Where your daddy go stay? Check this out, y'all. Be right back.
Perhaps you can explain it to me. He said that white men are devils.
Yes.
What does he mean by that?
He means just what he said. The deeds and the works of the man. He says the American devils. The lynching, the killing, cutting the black people's private out, sticking it in the mouth is what they did to us. Got a book called 100 Years of Lynching written by white men. Taking black women who was 4 months pregnant, they took us for years and hung us up at the feet and stuck a dagger in the stomach and ripped it and pulled the unborn baby out just to put fear in other slaves. They tied up black people to horses and 2 horses and pulled his arms out and pulled his legs out. Lemonade trains with white children and white people of America used to come and watch them tie up 10 or 15 black men and pour gasoline on them and burn them, watch them burn alive. They took us and hung us up the trees and shot us with bullets. They took and cut a hand off and gave it to the little boy and they took the leg off. And this is worse than the devil.
All right, but...
see, the devil, the preacher in the church taught us that the devil was up under the ground.
Right.
And he'll wait till he died before he burned us up. This white devil in America was worse because he burned us while we was alive. He didn't wait till we died. So what I'm trying to say is the deeds and the works. And I think this, if Elijah Muhammad can stand in America for 42 years before my little black self was born and say that the American white man is the devil, then the white man should get up and say you are a lie and carry him to court and say we are not the devil. Not one America, not one government official, one mayor, one senator, none of them will stand up and say that they are not devils and this man is lying. So what am I to do?
Right.
I believe it.
So, you got a chance to hear his daddy. What does daddy say? Well, according to the teachers of what he came from. So that term that he uses is not a term that is deemed on we as black people. But then maybe sometimes when somebody's speaking, they actually try to tell you who they really is, right? Now, again, I'm not going to say in agreement to everything that organization did. And because of that organization, how it got infiltrated, and, you know, as we go in the article more, talked about some of the stuff he said, you can see that if it's FUBU, if it's for us, by us, then that stuff don't happen. It's any time when your organization has been compromised, even if we talk about the NAACP, right? That was funded by Jacob Schiff from the beginning, from the start. So that means if I give you the money to your organization, then it's supposed to be a black organization, look black, probably run black, and doing black things, then if it ever gets to the point that it gets to where it can really do some damage to me, I can go back to you and be like, you know, I'm the one that created this whole thing, so I need a favor from you. You get what I'm saying? Right? So that's how, you know, mama put that money in there. So anyway, I had to clean that up about that, who the devil was, right? And then say that his followers support Donald Trump. Again, politics is politics. Martin Luther King was a Republican, right? We, again, a lot of us, again, we talk about being woke. A lot of us are learning, getting politically astute and learning that it's not about the individual. It's about we collectively as a group asking for what we need as a group. And if somebody, a candidate comes that's willing to, you know, right on the dotted line, this is what I'm going to advocate for you guys for if you guys support me, then that's the game how it's being played. If your followers supported Trump, who am I? That ain't me for me to sit there and argue about it. But if you saying that as what? A word to throw at black folks who feel that Donald Trump is what he is, but you're not hurting us by saying that. You're not hurting us by saying that, right? You're not hurting us by saying that. And so he goes on, he says, yet the person who wrote, now again, did you notice that they wrote in that article, right? The individual who wrote that article. Now again, he's in there kind of like caping, whether he know it, is he intentionally doing it or not, that's what he's doing. But as much as he's doing what he's supposed to be doing for them, they still shitting on him in the same breath. Because did you hear me when I said in that article that it said Ali Jr., the legendary boxer's only biological son, relationship completely fell apart in the final decades of his life. So what are they saying? And then they say, well, I'm writing this, but it really is coming from another report. But why did you put that in there? See? When you think you helping them, they always got that little bit that, well, yeah, you helping me, but here's a little shit. Take that with you too. You know what I'm saying? Because see, a lot of people think when you sell out, right? When you do shit against your damn people and you think they love you and all that other shit, and then what end up happening is you're a useful tool. And when they get through with the useful tool, they throw your ass away. And in the same damn breath, in the same damn article, they threw your ass right up under the bus by saying, guess what? Yeah, he is the greatest legendary boxer. He's his only son. And guess what? In the final 10 years of his life, they didn't have no relationship. I bet he didn't know they were going to write that, though, right? I bet he didn't know that, though, right? So he says it's not just Black lives matter, it's white lives matter, Chinese lives matter, all lives matter. Everybody lives matter. God loves everybody. Killing is wrong no matter what it is or who it is. That's a given. The problem is when you say white lives matter, Chinese lives matter, all lives matter, then how come them same people that you are advocating and rah-rahing for, how come they don't see that way vice versa? Have you ever seen any of them solely without us either getting in, let's say, situations where it causes us to, either protest, uprising, whatever the hell it be? Did you just see them naturally out there talking about all the stuff they done seen over the whole existence of being here in the United States? Do you see these other groups out here advocating on that? No, they don't do that. They'll take your money, go think they'll come back again, right? Come back again. They'll take your money, right? And then when you piss them off, you buy, get out, no receipt, no return, right? They'll do all that for you. But we somehow always got this sickness that we love everybody, but we put everybody else before we pull ourselves, right? So he believed that his father would have said, they ain't nothing but devils. He said that's what he believed. Now again, remember that the person who writing the story made you say, like, hey man, the last 10 years, he wasn't even cool with his father like that, but he talking like he really, he down with his father like that, right? He really talking like that, right? And so he was talking about how he's disappointed about the destruction action of some of the protesters, his dissatisfaction with the Black Lives Matter. Now again, everybody likes to talk about when we look at our history and we look at what took place over the times of the uprisings and riots and so forth. Again, festivity. We got to a point where enough shit was enough shit. If you try to, say politic with a mug, you try to be educational with a mug, and when all that shit don't work, what they leave you with? When you try to use, you say, well, we're going to use law, we're going to use reason. You do all that. And then when it don't work, then what do they leave you with? And see, like, that was the only thing that got somebody damn attention, right? You know what I'm saying? Like a kid, right? He ain't paying no attention. He all up in the damn front of the damn TV. Like, get your ass out in front of the damn TV. I'm trying to watch TV. You keep doing that. And they do all kinds of shit, knocking shit down over there. And then you get up, you get mad, right? To get him to stop, or he or she to stop. We can't say all that stuff because, today you can't do all that. But you know what I'm talking about, right? Right? You had to get up and do something about it because, you know what I'm saying? And so that's what you did. You left people know. And so everybody think if you don't go by the damn playbook, right? If you don't go by the playbook, then you're not playing the game accordingly. But who wrote the damn playbook? You know what I'm saying? If you write the playbook for me, then I'm only working according to the way you said it's designed. But when I feel like that playbook don't work for me, then I have to throw that damn playbook away and I got to come with a new strategy. But you upset with them because why? That was the talking points they were talking about. That was the shit they were saying, right? So he goes on and said, Black Lives Matter is not a peaceful protest. Antifa never wanted it to. Okay, so now you bringing in another group in there. You talking about somebody else. So obviously you saying they're being infiltrated. There was the peaceful part about it. But then there's other people who had other intentions. There were so many people out there, even if you want to say organization, couldn't nobody control all that was going on out there. You had people who were just out there caught in the spirit, caught up in the moment, want to be a part of something. So how are you going to say they're going to control all that? You got all kind of opportunities out there. Some of us out there, shit, they going to get on these TVs, all kind of motherfuckers out there, right? But you holding them accountable for it. So to me, that don't sound like that sound like somebody else. You get what I'm saying? That's like somebody else, somebody else's mindset saying stuff like that. But check this out. So he goes on, he says that if it was up to him, he would take them all out. I'm going to say that again. He said he would take them all out. Now, who else was sitting there talking about what they was wanting to do, and they was threatening them and talking about we going to bring in and do with them? So look at the talking points that you're coming from, right? Look at the points. Not about why they out there. What is antagonizing make them out there? Just like there was a lot of people in these corners want to sit here and talking about, now they start coming with all this conspiracy theory and talking about, oh no, you've been co-opted and he was in cahoots, and now all the people who were saying all that, now they done shut their damn mouth. Because why? You got to see the funeral, people went in there and they got to see, because they just say, oh, he ain't really dead. And I was just like, damn, you know what the problem was, y'all? You know what the real problem was? They can't believe that we organically, without any organization, you could say Black Lives Matter, but it was a spiritual thing that went from here all the way to the globe. You got the Pope saying it in his mouth, the UN talk, It was a spiritual thing because it happened on Memorial Day. And it rose and went over it. And so it was an organic thing. It was a spiritual thing. They said the spiritual versus the physical. This is a spiritual fight. So that spiritual man, a physical man versus spiritual man, you can only see it when it's physical. So you're trying to tie everything in to something physically tangible that you can touch. Some of this stuff is some things that you can't even understand. It's like that one person, that woman who talking about that George Floyd was not considered to be a martyr. He's not a martyr under the standard of what you come from, the paradigm, the way you look at shit. But when you chosen, it ain't got nothing to do about what nobody else think. Ain't that right? Ain't that right? So he goes on and he says that, what else he say? He said something to the fact that, what he say? Everyone else is starting the racial. Okay, he says Black Lives Matter is a racial statement, right? That when you say Black Lives Matter, actually, like I was saying before about Black Lives Matter, is kind of like equivalent to saying nigger to them. Right? If you say Black Lives Matter to a white person, they get angry real quick. They get, all lives matter, right? And look at all the stuff that's been happening ever since all this took place. And all they're doing is people just saying, like, man, enough shit is enough shit. You seen this shit? Don't you think this shit is? And then the other day I did the poll that Rudy Giuliani talking about what we want out here killing our damn police. Then I show you the stats is, and they say, well, 430 something people, white people being killed by police. And then it's 239. But I said, well, damn, the difference is between, well, y'all 65% of the damn population and we only 13%. Well, how we only like 100 and something short of the 400, and it's like 100, y'all 4 times bigger than us. So you damn right, there's something wrong going over here. But the problem is, why white folks wait till we got out here? Because white lives should have mattered long before it got to us. If y'all felt like y'all was getting killed more than us, or maybe y'all was just, white on white crime, and that's just what it was. But now I want to advertise and put it on the damn news, though, right? Okay, whatever floats your boat, right? So he goes on and he talks about, matter of fact, they got a quote from his sister, right? Layla Ali, right? And she said she thought it was a shame that the Black Americans here still fighting to secure the same things that our father supported. It's all about equality. Okay? This ain't about equality. This ain't about fucking equality. I think that's an illusion to say equal, because as long as they been what they doing, they're never going to make this. There's no such thing as equal. We just want what we supposed to get, what our ancestors and what the atrocities and all the shit that's been laid on us, and you've been perpetuating to do. And guess what? It's been a crime, and there's a remedy that can be redeemed if that's so it's one choose. But that's up to them. But trying to act as if like, that this is about racial equality. No, it's the freedom. It's about the freedom, right? And so she goes on saying equality for black people and all people. See, down the line, nothing specific. Anytime you see somebody who won't be specific and they down the line, it's something because they got something to protect, right? They got something to protect. So he goes on saying, but don't bust up the shit. Don't trash the place. You disenfranchised. You don't really own shit. Now, there is some of our people who do got business and so forth. I'm not going to say we at zero. But some things are just going to be part of the game. If it don't run by the playbook, it don't run by the playbook. There's some things that if you willing to sit your ass on the sideline, Dave Chappelle said, shit, I'm going to sit back in the driver's seat and let you do what you do. Right? Some of you are not made to get in the game. Some of y'all shouldn't even be out here saying nothing when they come to you because they're trying to use you to use your celebrityism or your connection to it as to give more validity to using the talking points they talking about. But obviously maybe you didn't notice that, right? Maybe you didn't notice that at all. So you can peacefully protest, right? Peacefully. We was doing that. We've been doing that. And guess what happened? Dogs sicked on your ass, hoes, heads bust, killed, hung. Peacefully. Does that make it still nonviolent on the other side? You telling us to be a certain way, but you won't mention the fact that the other person ain't playing game right. If there's a game that's even played. He ain't playing right. He ain't playing right. Right? So he defended the police, right? Now again, we're not saying we ain't here to say we hate police. But when wrong is wrong, wrong is wrong, right? But in this case, he's saying they don't wait. Now again, he got in their suit, right? He got in their head, in their suit. They don't wake up and think of I'm going to kill a nigger. They don't think they're going to kill a white person. No, they don't have to get up and say it. But I know it every day when he put that uniform on and get in that car. And depending on where his route or where he rolling at, he already know. I ain't got to say it. I'm finna be down there. I remember when I did the report about what was going on in Philadelphia, and they was catching them saying a lot of stuff on their what was it on their Facebook pages and a lot of their social media. And a lot of them, well, how many heads we gonna crack tonight? How many? They were saying a whole lot of things. So you sitting here saying what you saying, but I could actually show something that would show entirely different than what you saying, right? Right. So it goes on, and he said a couple more things, and we'll move on to the end part of the show. He said, I never had a scene with a cop. They've always been good and protect me. I never had a problem with them. But I showed you when he went to that damn airport with him and his mama, right? Him and his mama went to the airport twice. And guess what? What do you think TSA is? Is TSA just like some regular security bugs? They cops too, ain't they? When you came through there, what's your name? Come on in the back. Huh? They didn't treat you right, did they? You forgot about that part. I know you forgot about that. I didn't forget about it. I do news. So I went back and conjured that up and said, look, what about that? But it wasn't that the first time, it was the second time. And if you looked at that video real good, did you see when the mama was saying the stuff, he was looking at his mama like she said, well, Ali would come out of his grave and knock Trump out in 8. And he kind of cringed on it like, don't see that. Don't see that, right? We know where you're caping at. We know, right? So he says this: the officer was wrong for killing that person. He won't even say his name. He a couple times, about 2-3 times, he wouldn't say George Floyd's name. He would not say his name, right? Then he says this. He said, okay, the officer was wrong for killing that person. We heard Candace Owens say the same shit. But then, but people don't realize there was more footage than what they showed. The guy resisted arrest. Now, okay, right? You heard what he just said, right? Now, this is Black MINDZ News. This is where the show, hold on, no. Muhammad Ali's son said his dad wouldn't have supported Black Lives Matter. This Black MINDZ News over here. This the updated we there tight now, right? We there now, right? The show was going the way I visioned it. Now, he said that. Right now, let me show y'all something. Remember that statement he just made there, right? He just said something, right? Let's see. Is that the right one? Let me see if this the right. This should be the right one here, right? I think that's, yeah, go there. Let's go there. Go there and there. And, no, go down one. There we go. All right, so check this out. Now, remember what he just said, right? He just said that people didn't realize there was more footage than what was showed. The guy resisted. The officer was only doing his job. All right, let's see. Let's see. Muhammad Ali's son said his dad wouldn't have. Oh, there's somebody sleeping on the job over here. You got the wrong thing in there, sir. Hold on, you got the wrong one. That ain't the one. You know the one I want. You know the one I want, man. Hold on. Hold on 1 second. Y'all got it for us right here. We got it. Check this out. Let me go and do this. Because I want y'all to see what he said versus what really actually took place. I got to do this in real time. We had it set up in there already. I don't know why that ain't in there. But we're going to do it anyway. 1 second, y'all. 1 second. Let's see. Where that's at. Where that's at, y'all. Where is that at? I know it should be down here. Come on. Gonna have to get me a new technician over here because you slowing up the show right now, right? That post had already been there. What were you waiting on? Huh? All right, so still looking for it, right? Should have been already in there. It's hard to get out. Okay, let's see. That's not it either. Hold on. It should be down there. 1 second, y'all. 1 second. Here we go. Here we go. Now, remember what he just said, right? He said that there's more footage. So let's roll it. Let's show what the footage really showed.
This video, obtained by CBS News, shows what appears to be the start of the confrontation between George Floyd and Minneapolis police officers. The video from a restaurant security camera shows officers taking him into custody, but the restaurant's owner says it does not show Floyd resisting arrest. This video, obtained by CBS News, shows what appears to be the start of the confrontation between George Floyd and Minneapolis police officers. The video from a restaurant security camera shows officers taking him into custody, but the restaurant's owner says it does not show Floyd resisting arrest. This video, obtained by CBS News, shows what appears to be the start of the confrontation between George Floyd and Minneapolis police officers. The video from a restaurant security camera shows officers taking him into custody, but the restaurant's owner says it does not show Floyd resisting arrest.
Right? So, what did you see? What other footage could there have been? Did you see George Floyd resisting when the minute he got the car? Did he throw the handcuffs on him? So what is he talking about then, right? Right? So you taking a position that don't exist like somebody else that people were saying he was resisting. But now that we had got the footage and you got to see it, did you see him resist? But yet, you just did this interview and that's been out here. It's been out there even since I done did the show. And yet that's what you said, right? Right? And the officers were just doing their job and they killed him, as he said, with the wrong tactic. Huh? Hey, man. You know, sometimes, you know what I'm saying, genes don't necessarily go right to the next one, right? Like there's people who people put on icon status and so forth. And the child they produce don't even have. I seen Walter Payton do it, Michael Jordan. And there are a lot of people who done had some children, and the children that had no game, right? Maybe that's what that is, man. Right, maybe that's what that is, and maybe you bitter about something. Maybe you harboring something, right? But we got this, all that stuff got to stop, man. You know what I'm saying? We if you ain't got nothing good to say about black people and what we going through or what we trying to advocate for, keep it to yourself, man. Because you helping other people and then that's acting like somehow they got to place a position for you. You just be a useful tool for them. Then after they get rid of you and then you feel like, shit, I fucked up. Yeah, but you can't take it back. So anyway, that's what he said, right? So, as I said, as you seen on the thumbnail there, black dependents, what's y'all solution then, right? Since they say that we dependent because of what happened with slavery and that we haven't got out of that rut and we haven't assimilated, even though you don't want to attribute to the cause and effects that you have done. Well, this place it's a place of wholesomeness. It's about good, and it's a beacon for other places to actually copy and replicate itself under what it does, right? Well, I'm gonna give you this. Go ahead and check this out.
Behind today's racial violence, systemic racism, and discriminatory policing lies the failure to acknowledge and confront the legacy of the slave trade and colonialism. To build a more solid foundation for equality, we need to better understand the scope of systemic discrimination with disaggregated data by ethnicity or race. Because when I met the group of experts of Afro descent, they will say in many countries they don't count us, and if they don't count us, we don't count. We also need to make amends for centuries of violence and discrimination, including through formal apologies, truth-telling processes, and reparation in various forms.
Pompeo accuses United Nations body of hypocrisy after condemnation of United States police brutality. You know I'm going to say that again. Pompeo accuses the United Nations body of hypocrisy after condemnation of United States police brutality. This story has come out of Reuters, June the 20th, 2020, and this is how it reads. United States Secretary of State Mike Pompeo accused the United Nations Human Rights Council of hypocrisy on Saturday after the organization condemned racism and police brutality in the United States following the death of George Floyd in Minneapolis last month. Pompeo said the 47-member state forum unanimous resolution on Friday on policing and race was a new low for the council and reaffirmed the United States decision to withdraw from the organization 2018. United Nations Human Rights Council, now comprised of Venezuela and recently Cuba and China, has long been and remains a haven for dictators and democracies that indulge them, Pompeo said in a statement. It is a grave disappointment to those genuinely seeking to advance human dignity. The death of Floyd, a 46-year-old black man who died on May 25th, after a white Minneapolis police officer kneeled on his neck for nearly 9 minutes, has led to widespread demonstrations in the United States and across the globe against police brutality and racist or racial injustice. Pompeo said the civil discourse was a sign of the United States democracy, strength, and maturity. If the council were serious about protecting human rights, there are plenty of legitimate needs for its attention, such as the systematic racial disparity in places like Cuba, China, and Iran, he said. If the council were honest, it would recognize the strength of American democracy and urge authoritarian regimes around the world to model American democracy and to hold their nations to the same high standards of accountability and transparency that we Americans apply to ourselves. The resolution adopted by the Human Rights Council was brought by African countries. Floyd's brother, Felonice Floyd, had urged the council to investigate United States police brutality and racial discrimination.
We have time for one last question.
Hi, Mrs. Secretary. My name is Ben Allen, and I'm a civil engineering student. My question for you is, how do you balance condemnations with concessions and diplomacy with a controversial government such as Saudi Arabia? Thank you.
So I always begin with a deep understanding that no Secretary of State gets through their first day without recognizing it's a tough world out there. We don't appreciate how glorious it is to be here in the United States of America on a consistent enough basis and with enough fervor. Maybe you do here at Texas A&M, but I think too many Americans don't understand how blessed we are. There are many, many tough places out there. Having said that, not all tough places are the same. They each present a different set of challenges. It reminds me, you would know this this is a bit of an aside, but in terms of how you think about problem sets, when I was a cadet, what's the cadet motto at West Point? You will not lie, cheat, or steal, or tolerate those who do. I was the CI director. We lied, we cheated, we stole. It was like we had entire training courses. It reminds you of the glory of the American experiment. And so when you deal with these countries, you have to just recognize they're not all the same.
Johnny Cochran's last dream was to file a lawsuit to obtain reparations. You know I'm going to say that again. Johnny Cochran's last dream was to file a lawsuit to obtain reparations. This story has come out of Black Wealth Channel, July 27, 2014, by Dr. Boyce Watkins, and this is how this reads. Most Americans are fully aware of the long history of the United States government supporting the institution of slavery. Those who are deeply familiar with the depth of this 400-year Holocaust understand that there was multi-trillion-dollar wealth transfers that occurred during this time period, largely from the use of unpaid labor, in addition to many other acts of theft and oppression occurring over long periods of time. Beyond these damages are the impact of denied justice and trauma experienced by people of color in the United States, with much of this injustice existing until this day. This Holocaust had a far greater reach and magnitude than any other in American history, and perhaps throughout the world. Many of the institutions that profited from these atrocities exist today, along with the wealthy descendants of those who made a living by stealing wealth from black people. It's long been easy to prove that African Americans deserve reparations for what our ancestors lost. As a result of this systematically unethical behavior, median white family wealth is roughly 20 to 25 times greater than that of African American families. A gap that broad doesn't come into existence overnight, nor is it merely the result of bad money management. You usually have to work overtime to ruin the lives of others in order to get this much of an economic head start. Due to this socioeconomic terrorism, we live in a world where whites control nearly everything. The media, leading universities, banks, real estate, major corporations, etc. White children receive inheritances regularly from their parents and grandparents, and many black people don't know anyone who has ever inherited a large sum of money. Our schools are the worst because black communities don't typically have the tax base to support better ones. We fill up the prisons because we can't afford adequate legal representation. You can continue this long of logic when it comes to healthcare, violence, and nearly every other facet of American life. The gap is clear and appalling, but the fundamental question is, are we strong enough to do something about it? One ray of hope might be the army of talent and capable African American attorneys that have been produced by our community over the last several decades. These men and women are trained with knowledge of the law and resources necessary to take on a fight of this magnitude. Anyone able to conquer such a case would go down in history as the winner of arguably the most important victory in Black American history. This is either a job for a legend or someone who wants to become one. According to the Associated Press, the late Johnnie Cochran was preparing to take on this fight with a group of other leading attorneys, according to the ReunionBlackFamily.com. A powerful group of civil rights and class action lawyers who have won billions of dollars in court is preparing a lawsuit seeking reparations for American Black descendants from slaves. Project, called the Reparations Assessment Group, was confirmed by Harvard Law professor Charles J. Ogletree and appears to be the most serious effort yet to get Americans Black compensated for 244 years of legalized slavery. Lawsuit and legislation dating back to the mid-1800s have gone nowhere. This is what attorney Ogletree stated in the Washington Post. We will be seeking more than just monetary compensation, Ogletree said. We want a change in America. We want full recognition and a remedy of how slavery stigmatized, raped, murdered, and exploited millions of Africans through no fault of their own. Ogletree said the group, which includes famed attorney Johnnie Cochran, first met in July and will hold its fourth meeting in Washington, D.C. later this month. This country has never dealt with slavery. It is America's nightmare. Political solution would be the most sensible, but I don't have a lot of faith it's going to happen. So we need to look aggressively at the legal alternative, Ogletree said. Ogletree said the Reparation Assessment Group includes attorney Johnnie Cochran and Alexander J. Pierce, Jr., who won a $1 billion settlement for Black farmers who claimed discrimination by the United States Department of Agriculture, Richard Scruggs, who won $368.5 billion settlement for states against tobacco companies, Dennis C. Sweets III, who won a $400 million settlement in the Fin diet drug case, and Willie E. Gary, who won a $500 million judgment against the Lowen Group Incorporation, the world's largest funeral home operator. Also in the group is Randall Robinson, the president of Trans-Africa Forum, a think tank specializing in African, Caribbean, and African American issues. Robinson recently wrote the book, The Debt, What America Owes to Blacks, which argues for reparations. The question that we must ask is this: what happened to this reparation effort, and can it be renewed? In fact, can it be renewed with a national push greater than any collective Black effort of the last 50 years? There is no doubt that a reparation lawsuit would be justified, for even the most determined racists can't deny what's been done to Black people over the last 400 years. What's interesting, however, is that America has been led to believe that you can erase an atrocity by simply not repeating it. You cannot make amends for damage you've done to others by pretending that it didn't happen and promising that you'll never do it again. You must start with a sincere apology and then begin the process of reversing the harm that has been done. America has refused to do this. What's also interesting about the reparation struggle is that we are probably never going to get white America's blessing to pursue this fight. People will never like you for taking money that they think belongs to them, and will always find counter arguments to explain why nothing is owed to Black people for what we've gone through. You'll be accused of being a troublemaker, race baiter, and all the other terrible names Black people are called when they simply demand fairness. Therefore, the battle was not just a legal or economic one, but a spiritual one, only designed for those who have the fortitude to care enough about their community that they are willing to upset some powerful people and close friends in the process. Battles like this aren't won by a simple measure of right and wrong. They are won by those who accumulate the power to impose their will on those who seek to contain them. When I served as a keynote speaker at the National Black Law Student Association Convention in 2008, I noticed there was an interesting mix of young legal professionals. There were some who understood their roles as champions for black communities, and there were some who did not. My greatest concern was that I saw quite a few young students who've been trained to live a docile, meaningless existence as a cog of a giant wheel within any law firm that paid them the most money. They didn't seem to care what kind of work they did as long as they had a chance to drive Mercedes. I'm a finance professor, so I know the value of money, but as a human being, I also know the limitations of living a one-dimensional lifestyle where money drives your passion. Instead of letting the tail wag the dog, it might be more fulfilling to let your passion drive the money instead. Our young people will never learn this if we continue to teach them that the goals of any educational experience is to be a good boy, so that a friendly white man will hire you to do meaningless work that does almost nothing for your community. This is not to say that money doesn't matter. This entire article is about money. But money must also be attached to meaning. What I respect the most about the Willie Garys of the world, also with Ogletree and others, is that they've been able to become wealthy attorneys while still doing work that matters. Make this point to reiterate that the attorneys who win the reparation battles aren't going to necessarily be the ones with the most legal skills. Instead, it will be won by the attorney who understand the importance of targeting your skill and energy towards work that will impact the lives of those who you care about. That's the difference between a decent career and one that is truly transformative. Who will be our next Johnny Cochran?
I was thinking last night about this case and their theory and how it didn't make any sense and how it didn't fit and how something is wrong. And it occurred to me how they were going to come here and stand up here and tell you how O.J. Simpson was going to disguise himself. Was going to put on a knit cap and some dark clothes, and he was going to get in his white Bronco and this recognizable person and go over and kill his wife. That's what they want you to believe. That's how silly their argument is. And I said to myself, maybe I can demonstrate this graphically. I'm going to show you something. This is a knit cap. I'm going to put this knit cap on. Now, you've been seeing me for a year. If I put this knit cap on, who am I? I'm still Johnny Cochran with a knit cap. And if you look at O.J. Simpson over there, and he has a rather large head, O.J. Simpson in a knit cap from 2 blocks away is still O.J. Simpson. It's no disguise. It's no disguise. It makes no sense. It doesn't fit. If it doesn't fit, you must acquit.
All right. So, I had the United Nations who decided that on Friday, I think last Friday, they came and voted unanimously on the fact that Mike Pompeo had to come out and said that the United Nations seems to be out of pocket and it's seems to be a rest haven for people who break human rights is the reason why they got out in 2018. Now, the other day, I think I kind of explained a little bit of that, but that was seen like a move that they did in 2018. They got out for the simple fact that Venezuela, Cuba, and China got into the United Nations, and there was a lot of rumbling as to what was going in the, let's say, in the Holy Land, the Palestinians and Israel. And so a lot of them are advocates for Palestinians, and so because of that, the United States felt like that, well, they advocate for them and you guys are against it, then what is the purpose? So they said that because you are a rest haven for all these other ones, what is the purpose of us when you're talking about human rights? And so what the standard and what they do and how they are, and and they uphold, right? So I have also the press conference when they left themselves, when the ambassador gave them the goodbye speech. And Mike Pompeo, as you heard when he was at Texas University, and was talking about when he used to be the CIA and how they lied, cheat, and steal, and that was part of the courses for them, right? They thought that was pretty funny. And he talked about how all the other nations and how other nations are not as great as this one, and a lot of people don't really appreciate being here in the United States. And now understanding that there's a lot of worse places other than this. But we who built this place that you call this land of milk and honey, and the conditions we have been going and toiling through this whole time. But you say you are what you uphold yourself to be. So we see that the United Nations come back unanimously and going to say, prove it. Like the Decon Roach, you know, that when that commercial, when a white woman in the kitchen and the rat out there, it said, prove it, right? Prove it, right? They said, you say what you say you is, and you heard what the chief of the UN said, and now they voted on a resolution, and guess what's Wednesday going to do? I think, remember those who been watching the show, remember the 54 countries of Africa are going to also convene. So Wednesday is supposed to be the big vote. But they done already pulled themselves up out of the organization. Matter of fact, they want to actually disband it. But it was a 2-year. I think it would take 2 years for them to get finally out. I think it was June 19th, 2018. So guess what? They had did all this in process before, I guess, that final 2 years. So I guess they trying to pull a move. So Black Minds News is going to be watching this, though, y'all. I'm just letting y'all know. But the remedy, when say black dependency, I say what y'all solution is. It's kind of ironic that Johnny Cochran and a bunch of them lawyers were trying to get together, get a reparations assessment in the corporation. And they were going to go ahead and try to do it. And somehow Johnny Cochran dies, right? We know that Malcolm X tried it too, right? He dies too. We know that Paul Robeson and William Patterson tried it back in 51. Blackballed them and made their name where most people don't even mention his name. So you have to ask yourself, when you, like somebody was sitting there trying to say fighting the right way. Now you're trying every avenue that they say these are the asses and fascists and this is how the game play, and you try everything. I think that's when you've done all that you can. When you done did all that you can, then what's going to be left? What's going to be left? Right? When you done tried everything that you can to make it work. What do they leave people? And then here's people talking about following it the right way. So what happens? That's the question. What happens then? So do they counter it by, again, you see that the Pompeo came out and says that the organization that the human rights is hypocracy. Oh, they don't do anything. They harbor those who, you want to talk about human rights. What about all these other guys? Well, see, deflection. Get it off of us. Now that the election is here and you see that they going to show on these, ain't nobody showing up, right? We don't know what the hell will happen. And the other one, the Democrat one, he ain't going out there at all, right? So what's the game that's to be played here? Nobody wants to deal with the issue of we as BADOS. Nobody. And they said that we don't know how it can be done, how it can be paid. There's a lot of ways it can be done and it can be paid. I said make it a BADOS tax, which is allocated and we all get some kind of residual for the rest of our damn life. What's wrong with that? We done put in enough. Right? There's a lot of things that can be done. It's not just money. And I think Chappelle need to come out. Let me say this too. I think Dave Chappelle need to come out and apologize for making that damn clip in the Dave Chappelle show. When he the one scene he did when we got our reparation money. Hey y'all, hide y'all money, broke motherfuckers coming, right? Because now everybody wants to regurgitate, say, see, black people ain't gonna do nothing but just give the money back. I don't give it's my money. I do the hell I want to do. Right? I see Ghana saying, come on home, y'all. I'm trying to figure out, like, what they, we ain't got no money. How we just supposed to pick up with all our families and just go? How that works? Y'all gonna, don't y'all owe us some money too? You know what I'm saying? Well, everybody owe us some money. It ain't just them. Shit, line up. A whole bunch of motherfuckers owe us some damn money. But we ain't coming to you like that. We just stand and say, hey, right now, where you at right now? You done dusted all this money. Some things that could be done. So we're going to see, y'all. As time goes on, we just going to see what it's going to be, and that's going to be what it is. So, again, I want to thank each and every one of y'all for coming on, clicking on the video. Like my Zeus, take our hat off to you. We're going to actually change this format up a little bit because I want to have you guys, instead of me doing all the talking, I would rather have the people. I just play things and then let me get y'all to come in. I'll be throwing up the phone numbers so y'all can call in and get some dialogue and some opinions from y'all perspective because I don't know it all. I still learn every day. But I don't have a problem with getting out here trying to disseminate some things that I go across and see and that might be interesting for other people. So, again, this is the most hated show in the black corner of the internet. So we ready to do this, y'all? And let me give a little roll call for all those who was out in here. Let's see who was all in here. Because right now, it looks like it ain't showing me too much of nothing, right? And that part died out, right? We can't even see who opened the chat room. Can you see who was all up in the chat? Ain't show nobody in the chat, right? Ain't that something? I know it was people in there. No, it's Black Beauty. I think it was, who else I seen up in there? A couple other people. If I didn't mention your name, I apologize for that. But again, let's go ahead and do this. But like I said, we're going to get this together so I can have y'all input and so y'all can get involved. Like they're shooting out here where I'm at, so I got to get the hell up out of here. So let me go ahead and let's do this, y'all. Motherfuckers out here acting crazy. Some nigga shooting out the damn window. Goddamn nigga crazy. Anyway, so let me go ahead. Let's do this. Play it. Let's get up out of here. I'll put the microphone to the window. This nigga's shooting out the window. All right. Let's go, y'all. All right. So when you see your brother, greet your brother. What's good, brother? Can't do that much. Get that universal nod. When you see your sister, what's good, sister? What's good, brother? You know, I can't talk about the John Brown movie. They made the John Brown movie because they put a Siskey boy in there, so I can't say when they gonna make that movie they done made it, but then they showing you that John Brown actually owned slaves too. I guess it just don't kind of matter, right? But, you know, we're in some trying times right now. A lot of things are set in its place, and it's just a matter of time before they develop. So it's incumbent that we as Black MINDZ News and others that are in this corner are to keep sitting on the tower, watching and disseminating, and y'all go out here and choose who y'all need to listen to get informed. So again, this is Black MINDZ News. Until the next show, y'all, to the next show.
You